Our reaction continues to pour in after a baby in the United Kingdom was born earlier this month with DNA from 3 people. The birth came after doctors performed a revolutionary in vitro fertilization procedure created to help prevent rare but dangerous mitochondrial diseases. The first baby born with DNA from 3 people took place in Mexico back in 2016. According to Catholic Church teaching, the method of IVF is considered immoral. Then we go now to Dr. Lauren Rubal, reproductive endocrinology and infertility expert with the Catholic Medical Association. Dr. Rubal, great to be with you today. We appreciate it. First off, for those who may not be familiar, can you explain to us more about in vitro fertilization, what it is, why a couple would want to go that route, and why the Catholic Church considers it immoral?
Well, thank you for having me, first of all. Yes, I'm happy to explain to you. In vitro fertilization occurs when we use, when there are medications used to cause more than one egg to mature in the ovaries of a woman. And so these medications are used for about a couple of weeks, and then the eggs are plucked out of the body, combined with sperm outside of the body, and the resulting embryo that is created may be subject to different procedures such as biopsies in order to look and screen for chromosomes, and then that embryo may be transferred back into the uterus at a later point or frozen, potentially even for an indefinite period of time. And so you can imagine this is going to create so many different consequences, be it on a medical, physical, moral, and ethical level. In terms of why patients would want to pursue in vitro fertilization, it is used very commonly for couples who are having difficulty conceiving because there are many different causes for that. And so perhaps if they have a problem with their tubes, for example, whereby the sperm and the egg cannot typically meet, or if they are dealing with an issue with low number of sperm or eggs, those would be some of those reasons that couples look at different fertility options. And one of them they're being told to look at is IVF.
And let's talk about, why the Catholic Church considers it immoral.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I think that the Church in her wisdom has given us guidelines, very specific ones, actually, if you look at Humana Vitae and Donum Vitae. And this is because an embryo is a new life. And we know every medical textbook teaches us that life begins at conception. And we, as physicians, therefore, are inserting ourselves into that mystery of procreation, into the unitive and procreative act. And therefore, any manipulation or insertion of that medically places us as the determinant of what happens with that life in many ways. And it's really, quite frankly, a place where no human being should be. It should be God's place only.
Yeah, and IVF, this isn't really anything new, but this particular method that was used in the UK to conceive this baby is, as we said, kind of revolutionary. How problematic is it from a faith perspective? And also, can you talk about the potential repercussions, if any, there could be for this child down the road when it comes to their health?
Absolutely. Well, I would say that, first of all, what happened? Well, what was done was that they removed the nucleus out of an egg and then used a donor cytoplasm. They placed the nucleus from the affected mother into a donor's enucleated egg, thereby creating a new egg that was then combined with sperm, okay? And hence the 3 parents. And this was done because, unfortunately, there can be different mitochondrial diseases, which are the energy powerhouses of our cells. And this occurs in 1 in 5 to 8,000 people, but it can lead to severe organ dysfunction for the children and adults who have these conditions. In terms of from a faith perspective, I think that just because, again, technically we can do something doesn't necessarily mean that we morally should, of course. And this opens in many ways a Pandora's box that I think lends towards, unfortunately, mechanization of the human being, right? As comprised of parts that can be assembled and disassembled, as opposed to the creature that God has created. And so I think from a faith perspective, that just is the beginning of many concerns that people have of these, quote, designer babies. From a medical perspective, I think that there's a significant cause for concern. In fact, the European Society of Human Reproduction and Embryology did, in fact, publish a position statement, even in 2019, saying that this specific spindle transfer in the treatment of infertility should be viewed with great caution. And so the reason for that is because we have very quick adoption in some ways of many different technologies. And so what is being done is that we really don't know, first of all, what this technique is going to do for that baby. And I say that because prior iterations that were done for this group of mitochondrial disorders, unfortunately, the study showed that that was associated with children having an increase in risk of chromosome abnormalities, of birth defects, and therefore that technique was stopped. And so that's just one example. But I think the other examples include, we can't really assume that by doing that DNA or that our actions are modular in the fact that we have one expected beginning and one expected response. The human being is so complex medically that there's going to be absolutely a ripple effect. And ultimately, we aren't sure what consequences, negative, that we may be facing, and that this will potentially be carried on to future generations as well.
Yeah, so much more we can talk about. Unfortunately, we're out of time, but thank you so much for your insights and hope to have you back on, Doctor. Thank you again. God bless.
Thank you. God bless you.